Greetings, everyone. I'm Karen Vaughn, and we are here at a very special taping of the Exhale podcast at our 10th annual See It, Believe It, Achieve It Vision Board Party. I am really excited about today and really excited about our conversation because we're celebrating not only a decade of vision, sisterhood, and growth. This year's theme is Give Her Flowers. It's all about honoring our journey, expressing gratitude, and uplifting women around us because we all deserve to be celebrated. And if you're feeling celebrated, make some noise. It's just all too often that women, especially women of color, we're always out grinding, growing, and glowing, but we don't always get the recognition that we deserve. Today, we're going to change that narrative. We're talking about honoring ourselves, our journeys, and the women around us that pour into us. And I couldn't have this conversation by myself. Joining me on the stage are three phenomenal women, each representing a different decade of wisdom and experience. I would like to welcome our continued contributor, Dr. Sigrid Elston. Thank you for being here. A powerhouse of knowledge and grace, and she brings a wealth of expertise in the mental health space. Therapist Lakeisha Johnson, a dynamic leader and trailblazer. She's passionate about empowerment and resilience. Last but not least, I have Miss Autumn Carter, a rising voice of her generation, inspiring us all with fresh perspective on growth and purpose. Thank you for being here, ladies. So we're going to start with our segment one, the growth journey. So talking about growth and how it's not always pretty, and it's not always the glow up that we expect. It's real work. So with that being said, what moment, whether it's your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, when you had to push through to become the woman that you are today?
My push through moment was when I was 21 and I lost my father during my senior year of college. And just a quick backstory. My dad was 59 years old. He was a retired Marine. He was an FBI agent, retired FBI agent, and put in his 20 years. He was very much involved in me applying for graduate school. My parents were still married. My older sister had graduated and was working. And I remember he just came down with a rare strand of pneumonia and was in and out in like 1 week. And we were so shocked because he was healthier than all of us. He exercised every single day. And so we were just shocked, like, how did this happen? And that year, he was number 13 of 14 children, and he had two other brothers who died that year. He was the youngest of the boys. And so I remember during that time, one of my mom's close girlfriends and co-teachers from back when we lived in Virginia, I was talking to her and I said, I just don't get it because I feel cheated. And I have all these memories that I won't make with him. And she said, well, you know what? I lost my father when I was in my early 50s, and I have all these memories that I did make with my father. And I'm sad because I have those to reflect on. And so for you, you have those that you won't have. And so it's sad and it hurts either way. And so I remember at that time thinking, okay, well, when is it going to be my mom? And I was just seemed so obsessed with, okay, each funeral, who's it going to be next? Your skin, hands, hair, making sure you're capturing every single moment that you can miss celebrating and giving your loved one their flowers. And so obsessed with when is it going to end that you don't stay present and celebrating each other and in the moment. And so that was a turning point for me. It was a tough year with all of the losses and one we could have never imagined. But I do remember that moment teaching me that, you know what, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. And it didn't just kind of automatically shift, but it definitely taught me to appreciate your loved ones while they are here because you never know. And clearly, we've seen a lot of loss within these past week or so with celebrities and young people, even here. So that was my push through moment that taught me, you know what, give them, give her, give him their flowers.
For me,
My push through moment was probably my whole college career. Undergrad and grad school. I'm the youngest of 3 siblings. During that time when I first started school, I was not like the typical college student. I didn't immediately graduate high school and then immediately go into college, which was a shock for a lot of people because I was the overachiever in high school, playing sports. I won homecoming queen. I was in student council, like doing all the things. But I took a semester off just to like really get myself together and figure out what it was that I wanted out of life and not what my parents wanted for me. So during that time, my grandmother, she had Alzheimer's. She had had it for about 10 years. She ended up moving in with me and my parents. My middle sister, she's an overachiever as well. She was in Alabama playing college basketball. And then my older sister, she had already moved out and was kind of like building her family, had my niece and nephew, all the things. So around that time, I was trying to figure out like, okay, where I'm gonna go to school at? Like the time is coming up. Like I need to figure this out. So I decided that I wanted to go to Ball State. I ended up going, and then my grandmother got super sick. And I decided to be the one to move back home to help out my parents. My dad, he's a pastor. He's also an engineer, so you can imagine how busy he is all the time. And then with my mom, I just felt like it was kind of unfair for her to have to really experience that on her own, with that being her mother. So I felt like God was calling you to move back home. So I did. I started to help out my family to take care of my grandmother. But I started to notice that I felt like I was being robbed from certain experiences because I'm like, dang, I'm the youngest. I gotta be at my I'm supposed to be in school turning up. Like that's what I felt like I should have been doing. But when I look at my life and really think about what God has called me to do, I see why he called me to move back home to help out with my grandmother. During that time, many people don't know, but people who experience Alzheimer's, they also show different signs of psychosis. So they start having like those auditory and visual hallucinations and different things like that. It was just so divinely orchestrated that when I did my internship for graduate school, I ended up in the psychosis center at Eskenazi doing therapy there. So literally everything started to align and make sense for me. And I feel like through that time, it really shaped me into my womanhood. Because around that time, I was what, 19, 20. So going through that, it really helped me to kind of like build up the characteristic of resiliency within me, and just knowing how to like adapt through life transitions.
I would have to say the moment that was my push through moment was when I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. So I originally was diagnosed with stage 1 at 30, and it happened so quickly. So within being diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer, maybe 3 months later it was stage 3, and then maybe 3 months later it was stage 4. I was given a prognosis of 2 years to live. I'm now in year 4 and I'm in remission. Let's So it's Sprint, and thank you so much for the kind applause. It's all due to God, Jesus Christ. I would not be here without him. Um, but for me, it was going through those moments and feeling like I was left alone. I really felt like my mom had always told me 30 is going to be the best years of your life. And I got diagnosed with breast cancer. So I had just got off of a cruise for my birthday with one of my girlfriends. And we had like traveled and had a lot of fun. I had fun in a lump while I was on the trip, while I was changing my bathing suit top. But prior to that, I had went to the doctor because I felt like my nipple was like inverted. And I had went to the doctor originally, and they told me that it was a possible fibroid. I know my body. I'm like, it's not a fibroid. And so during that transition, I started to understand self-advocacy. And so I basically told them like, hey, I need to have a mammogram. And they're like, we're not going to do a mammogram because you're not 35. And unless breast cancer runs in your family, the insurance won't cover it. And so I found myself in a position where I ended up being diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. Um, in those moments, I honestly start to really see the silver lining of God and how he works and how he orchestrates everything and how everything is divine and it's in divine alignment and order. I remember right before my appointment, I had got on my knees and I had prayed to God. I'm like, Lord, I want to do your work, but I want to keep my hair. I'm like, plain and simple, I want to keep my hair. This is towards my appointment of meeting my oncologist. who is a doctor who basically specializes in making sure that the cancer shrinks through through prescribing chemotherapy. So I had never met him a day in my life, and I pray this prayer. I get into his office the next day. He tells me, I have good news and I have bad news. Which news do you want first? And I'm very optimistic, so I said I will take the bad news first and leave your office with the good news. He says the bad news is this is not curable. It's now in your spine. In your bones. So at this point, it had not only spread from my breast, but it went to my spine, to my femur, my humor, my liver, and my ribs as well. And so I heard God loud and clear. He said, of course, he cannot hear you. He's man. And so I wasn't sad. I wasn't upset. I just kind of was like, okay, what's the good news? So it's like, the good news is you get to keep your hair. No chemotherapy. And so in that moment, I really started to understand who God was and that he hears me, and that I wouldn't be the woman I am without my relationship without God, and just understanding that we go through the things that we go through to shape us because he knows what's coming next. We can't see it, but understanding that we are planted, we're not in the dark. We're just really on our springboard for the next thing that he has for us.
We talked about something that all three of you have pushed through, traumatic experiences, and you're still standing. So let's give them a round of applause. They're still standing. You're still here. And there are some things that we just continue to work through, right? It's not over. It's just a work through, right? So when you think about where you are now, what is something that you thought you would have figured out by now, but life had other plans? And I say that because many times as women, we put ourselves on this life schedule of what we're supposed to do by what time. Has anyone had what you thought was supposed to happen at a specific time in your life happen? Has it been the perfect timeline, what you thought? It's the pressure that we put on ourselves that we shouldn't. So that's where this question comes from, just to let us all know that we've all been there, we're all connected, and we always figure it out. So what have you thought that you had figured out by now, but you don't?
So the first one would be not overextending myself, I guess I would say. I feel like as women, Black women specifically, we have that really bad of feeling like we have to be there for everything and for everybody. And then we want to be irritable and mad at everybody, but it's like, girl, you doing this to yourself. Like nobody nobody told you had to do that. So I would say just reminding myself of like what my capacity is and that it's okay for me to say no. The second thing, and I'm gonna be really transparent here, is relationships. Um, I feel like I'm only 27, and when I say that and I'm around women of wisdom, they're like, girl, you're very young, like live your life, make sure that you're settled in your career, don't worry about a relationship. But as someone that kind of like grew up in the church, that's really all I knew. So like anybody that was raised in the church is fully aware that the push for marriage is absolutely a thing, right? When they see like single people, they want to look at you like, what's wrong with you? Like they frowning upon you type of thing. So at this stage in my life, just based off of what society has said, I would have thought that I was getting ready to get married or I was getting ready to have kids, especially because a lot of my friends are doing those things right now. But I've had to just really like give myself grace and know that my journey and my path is mine and it's not going to look like someone else's. And I'm very much fulfilled in my relationship with God and my career and how God is excelling me. And just because you're not married or just because you don't have children does not mean that you're less of a woman, because that does not identify who you are at all. So yeah, those are the two things that I feel like I thought I would have had figured out by now, but I don't. But it's okay because the Lord working on it.
No, that's right. I'll be brave and go next. I think I have the same sentiments as you, sis. I think for myself, it would be relationships. I thought I would have been married by now. Growing up, you always imagine having this big wedding and having the white dress. And I've been engaged before, but I think for me, it's really finding the person that adds to you and they compliment you. And not only that, they're not taking away from you. They're just adding to you and putting you on the pedestal that you belong on. So I think for me, it's trying to figure out the rhythm with relationships. But I think the more that I become more of me, the more secure I am with being single. And I understand it's like my space of like, once I get married, I'm never going to have this back. I'm never going to have this free time. I'm never going to be able to do what I want to, however I want to do it, without running it past somebody, spending my own money, how I want to spend it, not making a phone call to make a big purchase. So I think for me, there's like the optimism in that, that kind of has set me free from that. But I think the other thing I would say is scheduling for me. I've actually had to, this year I held myself accountable. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make sure I have all my appointments in my phone. So I actually bought myself a paper planner, we sit down every Sunday, my daughter and I, and we go through all the things. Like her activities overrule mine. So if she has something, I'm like, okay, I can't go to that. I've got to get to her stuff. But making myself sit down and write them out and then holding myself accountable to put them in my planner. So not only am I holding it to my memory by writing it out, I'm now putting it in my calendar so I can kind of foresee it coming beforehand. So just making sure I'm blocking, using my time effectively.
No, me going last does not mean that I have everything figured out. Let me say that. I was debating about if I needed to share this. Mine is very personable, very personal and personable. But I had this goal of making it back to Atlanta, Georgia, which is where I am from. Okay, everybody who knows me knows that has been my goal for the past 12, almost 13 years since we have been in the state. And so let's see, how would I put this? I think the thing for me, my husband is from California. And so for both of us, we kind of moved around a lot. Like I said, my dad was an FBI agent, so we moved around a good bit because you can't stay in one area too long. And so making that shift, when we lived in Atlanta, we were about 7 minutes from the airport, 8 minutes from downtown. We were about 7 minutes from our church, the things that were important to us before we had children. And so us moving around a good bit, and for him too being in South Central, if you know what that means, what comes along with that, in Southern California. Not that probably
rains.
it never rains, but it bangs. Okay. It was quite busy for him. So having stability for our children, it's huge. And so making that shift for them and thinking, okay, all right, I want to be an ATL. I want catfish. I want grits. I want my mama. I want my sister. I want to be close to all of my people. And making that kind of grown up, mature decision that my child being able to be in the same school with her friends from kindergarten all the way through middle school and hopefully, preferably high school as well. It was something I always dreamed of and feel like I missed out on, even though it built character to go to schools in different states and different cultures. I've had to kind of grow up in that and realize, you know what? Yeah, that's something that I thought I would have made my way and had some control over, but also recognizing that it's bigger than me. And then having sisters who I have built such great relationships with and finding a sense of home in a different environment and knowing that you can find a sense of Atlanta. We lived in New Jersey and New York and Virginia, DC. I can get those feelings and that connectedness even here in Indiana. A lot of folks aren't originally from here either, which is interesting. And there are some beautiful people who are born and raised here too. And so just recognizing that you can make home by finding good people and recognizing there are people who you can connect with and have similar values, similar goals. And when things go down, they can rock with you through the good, the bad. And I think that's been huge to me to kind of step outside of myself and recognize that, there are other people who need you too, and other beings who come from you, whether it's by blood or love, who need you too. And so that's been something that I've had to shift and recognize that I'm not in control of everything.
Yeah, I received that. I left here in 2000, the first time I was in Indy. I came in 2000, I left in 2001, I went to Miami. So you know that sign where it's like now entering Kentucky or now leaving Indiana? My husband and I were like, we're never coming back. It's a wrap. And 10 years later, in 2011, we came back. Then 2016, I got the call to go home to Philly. It was tough, but I'm like, I'm going home. Like, Cameron will actually be able to enjoy holidays and weekends with family. We never had that before. It's always been the three of us. So we went to Philly, we enjoyed it. Then I got the call like, we need you back. I said, you need what? So for not the second, but the third time, came back to Indianapolis. And I will say that each time it has gotten better and better and better and better. And God does not make any mistakes. So if Indiana is where we're planted, you know how they say it's not where you from, it's where you at? We're learning that, aren't we? We're learning that. Yeah, we're learning that. We're learning that. We're learning that. And thank you all for embracing us transplants. So what one piece of advice could you give your younger self about personal growth?
I will go first. So I've done some reflection. This is not the first time I've been asked this question. I actually had to write a letter to myself. Yeah. And I had it mailed to me like 6 months later from one of my mentors.
Oh, wow.
So I think for me, the biggest advice I would give my younger self is to focus on myself, is to focus on me and not to, of course, like give yourself to people that deserve your time and your energy. But in terms of relationships, you don't always have to empty your cup out to feel like you have to receive something back. Because as women, honestly, you sit pretty and we let the men go to work and then we decide if we want to engage or not. But for me, I can, in our society, we don't sit down with our daughters at a young age and tell them how to bake and how they should be courted. I know Mom did a great job of trying to teach me, but did I want to listen? That's another story. But I think for me, it's focusing on myself and really setting goals for myself and not only that, but seeing the big picture of like where I want to be at 30, where I want to be at 35. I think for me, a lot of times when we are in survival mode, we're only looking at like right now. We're not looking at 10 years from now. We're not, and that's fiscally and that's in your personal time as well as your personal goals. So I think if I could talk to my younger self, it would be to figure out what it is that I want to do and stay focused on that. If the people and the places and the spaces that I'm going to, if they're not contributing to those goals, to really and truly ask myself each time I want to engage, is this contributing to what I said I was going to do? If the answer is no, then I tell them, hey, I'll see you later.
That's good. Nikki Giovanni, there's a video of her, and it just struck me to my core. She said, those that hate me because I hate you too. But those that love me, I'm focusing on those who love me because I want to focus on my time in loving them. So if you hate me, cool, I hate you. But if you love me, I love you. That's just so poignant because we love on the people that love on us, and our tribe happens to find us. We don't find our tribe. Our tribe finds us.
Mm-hmm. I would say the first thing for me would be never to dim my light and who I am just because it makes other people uncomfortable. Regardless if someone is like superior of me, if they're in a leadership role, just know that what you carry is of value. And you don't have to tweak or change or minimize who you are or all that you are just to make someone else comfortable.
I guess what I'm thinking about is a combination of what you all have shared as far as being true to yourself. But I would add to that is that acceptance of we're constantly growing and evolving. And if you're a believer, whatever denomination that may be a Muslim, you're a Christian, and you know that belief that we are constant, there's no perfect Christian, there's no perfect Muslim, but that acceptance that we are constantly growing in our Christianity, for example, then you have to accept that we're constantly evolving. And you can choose to be, well, I am who I am, and that's how I am, and they just got to deal with it. Okay. if that works for you, you're going to be lonely, okay? And I don't know who's going to visit you at the home, but, whatever, good luck with that.
That's great.
Be home, okay? There's a difference. My brother-in-law and my sister, I don't know. I know she'll get comforted, but my brother-in-law, I don't know what my nephews are going. I don't know how it's going to work out. But I think that, when you accept that you can change, there are things you can change if you want to. I talk to my mother and my sister every day, a couple of different times a day, and she's like, Thomas said this. Don't say nothing to him, but he said, "Ooh, you a fool." And I don't like that. I got in trouble for saying fish-eyed fool, getting that from Sanford and Son from Esther back in the day. I got in trouble. And so I knew that was sensitive. I said, oh, Lord, Thomas wrote that. But this was an issue for her. Now, I can't say anything to my sister about it, but I know that it struck a nerve. And so the differences with the generations is a huge thing across the board. And I just think we need to be mindful of our grandparents, our parents are evolving too, or not, but we can choose to do something differently. And we can grow too, and we can think, okay, when I turn 75, let me make sure that I not necessarily accept everything and just kind of say, okay, we could just throw away certain traditions that we know are valuable, but we can listen and understand that there may be some changes that we need to accept that may be helpful to bridge people together, to communicate better, and to uplift, and we won't keep on with this mess that we got going on now just because we feel like one group is superior and the other group is wrong.
We talked a lot about where we're going, but we're going to pause and honor where we are with gratitude. Gratitude is powerful. It shifts your perspective. It makes room for many blessings. So at times we are all chasing the next thing. What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? And we forget about to honor where we are. So what are you grateful for in this season of your life?
First, for me, would be health. I mean, we're seeing Roberta Flack, Angie Stone, Mason Alexander, Dwayne Wiggins. Who was it? Then we see one of the Chris Jasper, probably many other individuals, and even celebrities and not, different individuals who are various ages, passing from natural causes, accidents, cancer, different things. So I'm going to say health, and that's for myself and my friends and family. I'm just grateful for every day that we get to love each other.
For me, I would say stability and just a peace of mind. Especially when you've had your moments to where you're overwhelmed and like you're having spiral thinking and you're anxious and all the different types of things. Just having a peace of mind of not really allowing the things of the world or the things that are in the world to really kind of like affect your inner peace. That's something that I'm really, really grateful for in this season, because despite the chaos that's going on around us, it doesn't have to be chaotic in our minds.
Um, in this season, I would say wisdom, and I would also say the ability to rest. Resting is a learned skill. I'm learning that. I feel like I'm so busy sometimes that I feel like I always have to be doing something. Like you said, Karen, you're always on to the next thing. And I think for myself, it's like sitting still. If I have a moment to sit still, I can actually value it and not feel like I have to be doing something. Because I feel like as Black women, we always have to be doing something. And for a long time, we've been tricked into, if you're doing something, it's a great thing. And it's like, it's not always a great thing.
So we always talk about self-love and pouring into ourselves. How do you practice self-gratitude and self-love? Because I know we always put our capes on, but what do you do to take your cape off? We don't take our capes off. Okay. Somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like I've been in my self-care bag lately just because I've been in this season of just trying to figure things out. So I've had time on my hands. It's spoiling myself, to be quite honest. I feel like I spoil myself. My mom and I just had this conversation today. I spoil myself so that when the man who I want in my life spoils me, I'm not like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I already did this. I already do this for me. I already do this for myself. So I would say I spoil myself. I buy myself flowers. I love Trader Joe's. I love Whole Foods. So if I right now I'm not shopping at Whole
We understand. It's okay. I think we're gonna start growing it for ourselves. That's what I have to tell you.
You know, for myself, I buy myself flowers. If I see flowers that I like in the store, I literally just buy them for myself and I take them home. I put them in a nice pretty vase and I just adore them.
Mine is similar to Autumn's. I spoil myself real bad all the time. I don't care. Buy me a new perfume. I just got back from a trip from Cabo. Like I love to spoil myself. It makes me feel good. I like to look good, so I'm gonna buy stuff that make me look good. Like that's just what it is. So I definitely do that, and then I also have, like, speaking to what Autumn said as well about things that we felt like we did not necessarily have when we were younger that we want to give back to people now. I have started to foster like those mentor and mentee relationships. So just having the ability to be able to mentor other people, other young girls that are up and coming new therapists or just need advice, different things like that. Doing that also allows me to feel like I'm pouring into myself too. So
Mine is dancing. I know that's not a surprise to you, but I love to dance and exercise with no other thing going on. So basically not multitasking. And we talk about multitasking all the time and it being so effective, we're getting more things done. But even when we're laying in bed and we're doing this or we're exercising, but we're also reading some work emails or this, that, and the other, you're not fully okay, you're knocking out the exercise piece, but you're not really engaged in letting your body get focused on the disconnect from everything else. I talk to my clients a lot about, the rest piece. And it's like, oh yeah, I disconnected from everything. I was on my phone and watching some junk TV and that was my kind of downtime, whatever. And you're like, no, you did not. And so it's like, well, no, you didn't really rest because you still had things going on. And so your downtime, well, I had downtime when I was going to sleep. Well, you were asleep, so you weren't even fully conscious of the fact that you were disconnected from everything. And so I try to practice that myself and just like, when is my time where I'm just listening to music? I'm not cleaning. I'm not washing no dishes. I'm not folding clothes. I'm just listening to my music. I won't disclose what all that is, but it's Atlanta based or it's Northeast based. You don't even know anything else. But just disconnected. Nobody else is home. I'm just listening to my music or I'm dancing or I'm exercising and not doing anything else. And so multitasking has its benefits, but when you're able to be one with something you enjoy doing, you are fully engaging in the benefit of it being joyful to you.
Two things. How do you balance giving and not pouring from an empty cup? Hold on to that. That's okay.
Saying no and making sure I have people around me who can back me up.
That's right.
You say? What did I say?
No.
Okay. And how many minutes before I roll out?
59.
59 minutes.
47 and a half on a
Okay.
good day.
That's all I gotta say. Not the people who say it's a light lift. We got your bag. We'll be on your committee, and then you by yourself. Yeah, it's like how. Yeah, where y'all? Oh, okay, I'm out by myself. Okay, it's just me. All right then. That's it. Thank you.
I feel like I'm still learning that. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Literally. But I think that having an accountability partner for sure. But also being able to self-reflect and know when you yourself are off. I know when I am pouring from an empty cup because I get real snappy with people or I get real irritable. And if you don't have if you're not good at self-reflection, and just identifying like when your mood is off and different things like that, it'll be difficult for you to be able to identify like, okay, maybe I am a little bit burnt out right now. So for me, just doing check-ins with myself, like, okay, Keisha, you up here, like, you need to calm down. You need to come down here. You a little bit irritable. You maybe have said that in a wrong tone. So kind of like reevaluate where you're at right now, who you're giving to, what you're giving to. And yeah, that's kind of how I go about it.
I would say that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking the same things that you were thinking, saying, Lakeisha. For me, it's like knowing myself and knowing my signs and symptoms of burnout. I know if I'm like snappy, then I'm like, okay, we need to reevaluate because I'm not a snappy person. But when I've reached my max, that's when I'm like going off on everybody around me because I haven't really had a come to Jesus meeting with myself to like say, okay, Autumn, you need to cut down on these. I actually cut myself from committees this year. I was like, if I'm not able to show up to them, I'm not putting my name on something just to say I'm on a board.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's just, at this point, it's just silly. I've put in my work, and now it's time for me to rest and do the things that make me happy. And it's not sitting on a bunch of committees just to say that I'm involved and engaged. People know, they know my work. And I'm like, I've put my name up there and I've done my work. But right now, it's time for me to rest. And when I'm ready to reconvene, I will revisit at that time.
You say no, you lower your blood pressure. You don't even have to get snappy. Mine's pretty steady.
What's the best flowers, meaning a compliment, lesson, or support you ever received from another woman? So we're going to start that trend here today. We're gonna start that today. Giving each other compliments, our flowers.
I think for me personally, it's when I've had someone compliment me on my intelligence. 'Cause a lot of times people say, "Oh, you're so beautiful," and it's not a it's not that I'm taking away from their compliment, but I think for me it's to know that someone sees my brilliance and they see my smarts, and I feel like I'm contributing to whatever it is that we're doing. So I think for me it's when another woman that I may be working alongside, they're like, "Oh, you're so smart," or "You no, you don't. You're the SME in this," and I think to me it's also a testament of we both can coexist. And I think a lot of times um, we don't make space or room for that. I would say we're doing a lot better, to be quite honest. And I love when women just give compliments to each other, even if it's like from the physical aspects. I think to me, again, it's just that taking note of you're beautiful and I see it and I see you, because a lot of times we can go in the world and feel invisible. And so just having that moment to not just getting to know someone on a mental level as a sister, to be able to walk alongside her and help her with work. My sisters are actually here at the front table from the 100 Black Women Coalition. So I've done some work with them. And so I say it to say, like, just being able to take up space and to be able to identify brilliance instead of just going straight to beauty. And I do that with little girls too, but I may be out, I'm like, "You're so smart." That's the first thing I say versus like, "You are so beautiful," because I want them to understand like it's this up here. It's this up here. This is just the addition to.
I know I talk a lot about my work, but I pride myself in my work. I love what I do, and when people compliment me on kind of like the complexity of my mind and the way that I think and the way that I'm able to kind of like, I hate to use the term pick apart my clients, but you know what I mean when I say that. But I just recently had one of my supervisors give me a compliment just about the way that I kind of like come up with things in my mind and I help people make sense of the things that they experience, especially when it comes to some of these mental health diagnoses. And that compliment really stuck with me because as someone that is young in my career field, you don't see a lot of like young Black African American therapists. Like, you just don't. It's not a thing. So to be in this field, and I think it's only 7% of African Americans in the mental health field, to be one of the ones, I'm very grateful to be chosen to do this work. But just knowing that the people that are older than me or who have been in this career field a lot longer and they're looking at me for clinical advice or asking me questions, I'm just like, oh, y'all believe in what I'm doing for real. Like, But no, that really blesses me when people compliment my mind and compliment my work, because I don't do the work that I do for compliments. I do it because I really believe that I'm called to sit with people in their most vulnerable moments and help them heal. But just to kind of receive your flowers, it just kind of gives you like that feel good moment that we all like to hear or like to experience.
Yes, it's probably two things. I would say one is kind of professional, and one of that being is when my clients in between sessions can share that they have done their work, and it's not so much me feeling like there's this God complex and I just wave this magic wand and have this power, but I know that they're thinking about, they're processing, they're doing work outside of the session, because you're only meeting with me for a little bit under maybe an hour during the week, and I can't solve the problems for them. And so the goal is that you become your own therapist. And so the fact that we could come together, I might have a certain level of expertise or experience in my field, but you're the expert on you. You've been in your body for 20 years or 30 years or 50 years, whatever the case may be. And so the fact that they're coming together and trusting me with their personal information, and not just theirs, but their families, their professional information and history and background, their grandmama's information, their whoever's legal, criminal history, whatever it may be, and they're trusting me with that and able to say, you know what, I was thinking about something and you'd be proud of me. I did some work and I was thinking through something that we had been talking about or we were working through, and I wanted to let you know that this is what I came up with. That to me, they don't even realize probably that that brings me so much joy, because when those dark moments with clients are there, and we've all experienced those dark moments after you've lived, a certain number of years, whether you've gone to therapy or not or needed to, we've had them, okay? And therapists have therapists or should have gone, or will go. You have them. And so when you do the work and come back in a processing, it is just an amazing thing. And sometimes it doesn't happen, or it takes longer than you might think. But who can dictate how long it takes to heal? And sometimes you don't fully heal, but you learn to live with. And so for someone to say that they are trying to work on something that's been with them for some time is huge. So that's one. The other part is my beautiful little daughter in the background. Whenever she pauses and says, that's Alani, whenever she says, Mom, I just want to thank you for everything that you do for us. Because we often talk about being a parent or caregiver, auntie, godmother, or whatnot, being a thankless job. And oftentimes we don't understand that job and how thankless it is until we're in the role of caregiver, guardian, parent, auntie. We don't realize it until we're in that role, or if we're in the sandwich, role of caring for our parents or grandparents or whoever and our children. We don't really understand it until we're in it. And so when she pauses and thanks me on behalf of her daddy and brother, yeah, Jesus. And she's not prompted. It really does bring joy to my heart, and it just makes me so thankful for my mom, all the mamas, aunties, and godmothers, in the work that they've done, our ancestors, the work that they've done for us to be here. And it doesn't have to be said, and a lot of times it's not said, and it's shown in different ways, but it's so powerful and cathartic. It's healing to hear somebody say those words, and I love you, because it's so, kind of understood. Well, I kept the lights on and you got clothes and this, that, and the other. You know, okay, I gave, I was thankful for it. You know, you know, eh, I love you, and it's like, but it's something different from hearing, between hearing the actual words, I love you, or thank you, that someone took that courage to actually say those words. And so those are the pieces that kind of give you that.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
I heard the joy in the ladies on the stage right and the joy in the ladies on stage left. My question is, do you have advice for each other? Because the two on the side said, I'm single, I don't have a relationship, but I'm really curious about what's going to be next. But I know the two on the other side, y'all are wonderfully married. Can you give some advice, some guidance, some different perspective to the single folks in the room from the married perspective?
Don't settle. Don't connect with someone just for the sake of connecting with someone. Find someone that's your friend. I met my husband at work, and we were really good friends. And that just transitioned into a different type of relationship that we kept under wraps and no one knew until we got married. They were like, y'all together? We're like, yeah. But what I can say in that is we protected our relationship. It wasn't like it was secret because we didn't want anybody to know. It was secret because we were enjoying each other's company as a couple. We didn't have social media like we have now, where everybody is like Instagram, official and all of that. I really took solace in us getting to know each other and being friends and being my best friend. So that's the advice I would give. Don't settle. Find somebody that is a true partner and both of you bring 100%. If he's gonna bring 100%, just let it go. Don't get involved. Don't get connected. He could be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's about it. If he can't bring 100%, don't settle.
What she said. What she said. I'm just gonna leave it on there. Yeah, what she said. I definitely agree. Like I mentioned before, my dad was a former FBI agent, and he was, of course, very, you can only imagine, but very rigid. And so, very strict, very rigid. And I was just like, oh, Lord, I could not do that. I married that. I married that. And so, but I dated all the complete opposite. I was so attracted to something very, very different, complete opposite. Just like, oh, you not in school? Don't matter. I make it straight A's. I'm good. I'm going to grad school. Don't worry about it. I love that. It's okay. Oh, you can't go to school? You got kicked out. Whatever. I just wanted everything that was completely different, completely. I won't even go into any other details, but just the opposite. All right. And I don't even know how my dad did not trace that they were the opposite, but let's just say they were the opposite. And so I was like, well, this later on, I was like, that's probably not going to work. It's not going to pass. This is going to catch up with me. And so finally ended up meeting somebody who was the blend. Like I said, he's from Compton. Okay. Had no idea that that's how it go. But he was from Compton and then ended up in Atlanta at Clark Atlanta University and ended up being the blend of that side and my daddy. And it was just the most amazing blend that I can't stand sometimes, I think, but it works. Yeah, for however happened, it works. And so I never thought that I would be able to find the blend of everything that I needed as far as my dad and everything that I love or excited me about the opposite of my dad in this one person. And so I think that was a part of not settling is just kind of like, oh my gosh, there's somebody who can have all of that in them. And so, sometimes you think, okay, well, I probably need to just go with safe. Safe was boring. We'll go to it. And then the excitement was not safe. so we'll just say that, it's just not safe. And I probably would not be a licensed psychologist right now. Okay. So we'll just say that. And so it works. It definitely works. So yes, do not settle. And whatever you like, you can find the blend, Christian, educated, exciting, loves life, and loves you, loves your child. My husband had a daughter before. I always was like, went through that before. I'm like, yeah, nobody who already had a kid. And I'm like, oh, you got a child, Lord have mercy. Well, here we go, but I like you, And yeah, so here we are.
And as you say that, you smile. So we know what it is. We know what it is. I have to say that this conversation was everything that I felt that we needed and more. Thank you to the three of you. And as we wrap up in 30 seconds or less, what is your final word of wisdom on growth, gratitude, or giving?
That in the scope of growth, I always constantly try to remind myself that self-reflection with the absence of self-compassion does nothing but breed a negative perspective of yourself. So continue to reflect on yourself and identify the things that you want to work on, but make sure that you're adding compassion and grace and kindness into the equation as well. So that way you're just not beating up on yourself.
So this is one word.
Yeah.
So I would say evolve. It's okay to evolve into who you're supposed to be. I feel like a lot of times we have this narrative of who we're supposed to be, but God knows who we're supposed to be. And so allowing our experiences um, to really shape us and not to traumatize us. For me, I had to learn post-traumatic growth
Yeah.
versus post-traumatic stress. And there's a huge difference. One is springing forth, one is being stuck.
Peace. Be at peace with who you are in all of your relationships. That's it. If it's personal relationships, if it's professional relationships, when you're talking about jobs and careers, I was like, oh, it sounds like a relationship. Like, okay, they got rid of me. No, we ain't together no more. You know what I mean? However, they fired me, he fired me, she fired me, whatever, however it is, we ain't together no more. And so I ask my clients all the time, are you happy with who you are in your relationship? Do you like who you are in your relationship? And so that's it. Be at peace with who you are in your relationship. Do you like you in this relationship?
And speaking of that, tell yourself right now, I love me. You know, right? Yeah. That felt good, right? To every woman in this room, I want you to know that you are seen, you are valued, and you deserve to be celebrated. Thank you for being part of this journey with us today at the See It, Believe It, Achieve It Vision Board Party. Let's continue daily to give each other our flowers, today and every day. This has been the Exhale Podcast. Until next time, keep growing, keep giving, and keep exhaling. You can watch on YouTube or listen on any platform for podcasts. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Exhale and be well.